A lot of our victims aren't clothed completely. They are have just been sexually assaulted, and these patrol officers are coming on the scene where this traumatic event happened, trying to a lot of times interview our victims not too far from where that defendant or trafficker is and conduct an interview in that stressful environment. Those victims are going to shut down. If you're getting any information out of them, how truthful are they really going to be when their defendant or trafficker is sitting just a few yards away from them?
When a crime occurs, on scene is not the time to try to interview someone. I think the first initial interview is very appropriate, especially if they are looking for a perpetrator. But as far as the details, those should wait, and it's best practice to wait. During that initial impact phase, our victim survivors are at a heightened state. Therefore, their recall is not always at its best. And officers at that time sometimes do want answers when really first and foremost the priority should be the physical and mental well-being of that victim survivor, ensuring that basic needs are met.
Since the interview program was started in June of 2020, we've conducted over 1,700 interviews. The questions that we ask during the interview are usually open-ended questions. They are also based on the victimization, sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, adults molested as children. So our questions are going to be based on the victimization.
Sexual assault, that is traumatic in and of itself. It's a very intimate type of conversation that a lot of people don't like to have. So with dealing with TXFNE, they communicate without issue, right? And they're willing to hold hands and walk with our victims.
During the initial incident, exactly, you're at the heightened state. You've just gotten out of fight, flight, or freeze at that moment. So therefore, your memory recall is scattered. When you give your brain some time to heal from what's happened, then they're able to organize a little bit better. And that's why when we do have victim survivors that are interviewed right after something has occurred, and then you interview them a couple days or even a week later, sometimes the stories don't line up, and it's not that they weren't telling the truth, it's that the recall is completely different during that time. So having a group of nurturing interviewers that are trauma-informed and victim-centered, I think is what adds value to the investigative process.
It's also important for the interview to be done in a way that is legally defensible and that they are getting to all the elements of the offenses. Because really the idea behind a forensic interview is that it is a full and complete interview, and we don't have to keep asking people these questions over and over again.
So many distraught victims and individuals who had been traumatized first by the assault or the injury that they received from the criminal, and then some felt that the system itself traumatized them again. Our understanding of how to better work with crime victims as witnesses and human beings is improving. And we've learned that by focusing on the trauma of the victim as part of the way we investigate the case, that we can help them and help their case at the same time.
The forensic interview is a soft room. They already have an interviewer that really empathizes with what they're saying. It's a nice start to introduce myself to my victims so that they feel comfortable with me.
Our interviews are done in collaboration of law enforcement. All of the interviews are scheduled online. We just ask that they provide a little bit of information about the victim, who's going to be observing the interview or who the leading investigator is. And then after the interview schedule, the day of the interview, law enforcement can observe through our live link, or they can also observe here at our office. We have an observation area for law enforcement where they can observe through the cameras.
Nothing that happens at TXFNE happens by accident. They're very thoughtful about seeing crime victims as a whole. The change that they are making is very positive, not only in the lives of crime victims, but in our ability to successfully prosecute these cases and get convictions.